So I looked up the Pinetree and the Kirk corner notched. So I kind of have an idea of what to do. I'm going to use a difficult piece to start with. It's going to get considerably smaller. The Kirk corner notched is not a big point usually. A lot of the reproductions I've seen are bigger than the ones that are in the book, the ones I've got in the book. So I don't need nearly this much length. I think this might break anyway. But if it doesn't, I'll try to use as much of the length as I can and just make it a little bit oversized, I suppose. All right. It will be available in the auction. As always. Okay. Now there's less chance of breaking in half if I am just careful on the ends as I'm thinning it. Careful, careful. Careful means I'm removing these flakes with very precise and fast hits so I don't shock the piece with slow hits that are not very carefully planned. I'm not grinding very much because I don't need to yet. If I make the platforms too strong, it'll snap the whole thing. I'd rather have the platform crush than break the whole thing. So I need the platforms to be just barely strong enough to attack the turtle back there. Okay. This is a heat treat, I think. Some kind of Texas chert. But I don't have anything. I don't have much that is appropriate to the Kirk point that's of the correct size. I got a lot of it that's small pieces of Burlington or other things, other stones. It's a heat treat, but it's still kind of tough because normally those flakes would travel. I did grind it because I need to send in a powerful flake, but it didn't work. That one didn't travel. So I gotta switch over to indirect percussion. Yeah, see, they're supposed to travel like that. But for some reason, when you need it most, it does this. Okay, let's see. Yeah, I'll switch over. Okay, so Kirk corner notch It's pretty straightforward. I've done them on video before. People are asking me what the tools are. I always get questions. This is a 3/8 inch steel rod from Lowe's. The length, I don't know. It started at 12 inches, I think, but it's probably a little bit shorter now. Well, let's see. I bought some rulers. Yeah. 12. Still pretty close to 12. It wears down slowly. And this is a ultra high molecular weight plastic, UHMW plastic rod, black. And you can find them on eBay or other industrial supply places. Not that eBay is an industrial supply, but you can find them, or you can find the rods, not this one, this rod through industrial suppliers or eBay. eBay is cool because it'll give you the option of buying a short piece instead of having to order 3 sticks, each 6 foot, and they don't ship small orders. eBay does ship small orders, but industrial supply tends to want to sell you, a large batch. Okay. Because that's the next question. What is it and where do you get it? And if you want to try it, try this setup. Just be aware it's going to take time for you to get used to it if you've been doing something else. If you've been napping in some other way, this way is going to feel goofy. Some guys can pick up on the advantages of this right away, and some never do. It's much easier if you're brand new and just starting out without much experience to get accustomed to this style. All right. And you can also do a YouTube search for my tools, Jack Crafty Tools. I think I have some fairly good explanations on my tools there. And if not, I'm sure you can figure it out. Okay. All right, turtlebacks are gone. Yes. All right. So now we go to the next stage. If I was back in the day and I didn't have time on my hands, I would bury it right now at this stage and come back to it later. So we'll pretend we buried it for a while and came back. All right. Next stage. Refining the edges, making them regular. Were these stages used in the past? Yeah, I think so. For the most part, I'm getting the impression that napping was done in different stages. It's productive to have a stash of bifaces, because then you can sit down with your stash of bifaces and make a set of points all at once without taking too much time. I'm finding out I can be more productive and make more points if I start out with a stash of bifaces than if I were to start out with a bunch of little blocky chips and nodules and spalls. Okay, now thinning it down after regularizing the edges a little bit is the next stage. Now, should I be doing the stem and base first and all that? On many of these, yes. I don't know, I'm not an expert on the Kirk style. But I want to thin the ends first. You know, start with the base if you have to. That was a little bit unfortunate. But since Kirk is a small point, it's not too bad. Besides, there's some concrete here. It's all right. I want to get rid of that anyway. It goes through to the other side, but I think I can get rid of most of it. Today is shaping up to be a nice day. I've got the doors open so that the dust from this can escape easily. Most of the dust, by the way, is created through the abrading process. I notice a lot more dust when I'm abrading a lot. Just FYI. Yeah, it doesn't want to go right when you need it the most. Why do I say that? I'm just venting. It doesn't always happen that way, but it seems to happen that way. Because the times where you really need that flake to go, you're all focused, and then when it doesn't, you remember it because you're very focused. I've been listening to how to spot fallacies. There's an accessibility fallacy where the thing that you most easily remember becomes the truth instead of what actually is the truth. So I can easily remember that platforms will fail when I need them most, but it's not really the truth. But I tend to remember those times that, man, right when I needed it to work, the platform failed, or it snapped in half, or I got this weird step fracture. It doesn't always happen that way. All right. Sometimes I can succeed, and well, most of the time I succeed in taking care of the damage control, making sure that there isn't anything bad on the surface, no turtlebacks or big step fractures. All right. Oh, dang. That was not good. See, when you hit and it doesn't release, there's some weird stuff going on in there that could come back to haunt you. So I have to take care of that right now. Blast that away. To make sure there's no sneaky little cracks under there. Okay. Did I get it? Yeah, pretty much, I suppose. Oh, gosh. I needed that to go, and it didn't. It's supposed to be a nice thinning flake. Alright. This might be raw. No, it's not raw, I don't think. It's probably lightly heated with heat that is lower than I should have used. Dang, I'm hitting that really, really hard, so maybe it is raw. I mean, I hit that really hard. Hard enough to overshoot it twice. There, that was what I wanted before. Nice long flake. Oh well. Okay, so this is the end of the next stage. I got it thinned down pretty good. Now it's refinement time. To look at it, there's some defects in the stone itself. See that? It's porous. It's got some chalky. It's got a chalky area right there. Hopefully not more than that. It's got a couple of spots that are hard. That one's not too bad. This one's a hard spot, but it's not in a bad location. If this is in the middle of the piece, that's when it's difficult. When a concrete or a hard area is right in the middle. But this middle looks okay. Yeah. All right, so here we go. Looking at the book. I am looking at this book here by Noel Justice. I think this one's still available as a used book for not too bad of a price. And here are the Kirk points. Kirk corner notch cluster. The pine trees in this particular setup here, or in this particular page, are that one and that one, which means it's resharpened in this area here. Now these pine trees don't have a lot of big fancy serrations, right? They do have serrations, but they're not big, they're not skinny, they're not really pointy, they're just normal. This one you can barely see them on this one. These over here are just Kirk points, Kirk serrated. They're not pine trees. The pine tree is resharpened to preserve in such a way that it preserves the length. They resharpen it from a little bit down from the tip to the barb. They sharpen in this area. They don't resharpen across the top like these are. They're resharpened here on the sides. So that's what I'm going to do. And I got plenty to work with. Yeah, plenty of material. Oops. Which is always good. All right. So if you're thinking that your pine tree does not look good because it doesn't have these really big serrations, or it doesn't look right, don't worry. Pine trees don't have really big serrations. At least the ones in the book didn't. And those are sketches of real artifacts. They're not sketches of thought experiments. Okay. I'm going to work on the stem first. I'm going to remove the little bits of stone that get embedded into the tip before I start any more of the careful indirect percussion flaking. Alright, so I need to thin this down quite a bit. The pine trees are thin points, which distinguishes them from the normal Kirks, which may or may not be really thin. And especially thinning from the base is common with pine trees. That's what I heard anyway, or that's what I read in the book. So I'm going to prepare this for some thinning flakes before I actually put the notches in. I'm going to make sure the stem and the base are wide enough. I always have the difficulty keeping the width on the base of the stem. I might overdo it on this one, but I'd rather overdo it than not. Oops. Yeah, I should have hit that harder. It's very concretey. We'll see. I put a cover over the back of the van so the sun doesn't ruin our video, but the wind keeps trying to knock it away. So maybe once in a while, like just now, you'll see the light come in, or the sunlight shining in here. All right, hopefully it won't do that too often. All right, so what do I talk about while I'm doing this very delicate procedure of thinning the base through the concrete? Well, let's see. What about the next point? Oh yeah, I'm going to do the hell gap. And like I said before, the hell gap is what you get when the Lake Mojave and the pelican have a baby. Except that in a lot of cases, it's heat treated material. I'm excited about that one. Okay. Yes. Goodbye. Goodbye, little crushed step fracture area. Okay. Yeah. It's getting thinner. Okay, I'm going to prepare the sides for some thinning flakes. This one is going to be probably a lot of the original flake scar on the original spall remaining. I don't care. It's this side that I need to make sure it's flat, or flatter than it is right now. So I'm moving the edge that way. I braid in both directions to make it stronger. You can braid only one direction if you want. I tend to braid in both directions. Okay. Here we go. And I can see a cloud of dust, but I've got the doors open slightly. This is tough rock. It feels like it shouldn't be, but it is. All right. How do I run longer flakes? Is there a strategy to run longer flakes? Well, I just got to hit harder. That's the first step. Second step is prepare the platforms really well. That's my challenge. I don't prepare them as well as I need to in most cases. Did I do it? That was good. I was a little bit afraid to look at that one. That one's not too bad. Now I just got to remove that step from the other side. It's past halfway, right? So it's relatively easy, as long as I don't mess it up. Okay. Yeah. As long as I don't mess it up. Well, it traveled. Did it take out the... Yeah, kind of sort of took out that step fracture. I got to make sure when I'm hitting that the surface is convex and I'm not hitting into a dip. All right, here we go. And I'll go all the way to the step fracture and stop and take it out. That one tried to dive, a sneaky little dive. You see that? The last flake was right there. It came up, but instead of blowing away the edge of that step fracture, it dived right before it, like a sneaky little booger. But it's still okay. I don't care. I can't do anything about it when it wants to be sneaky. And it wants to be sneaky today. Okay, here we go. I'm holding my finger there. Does that have anything to do with it? Well, yeah, yes and no. Yes, it can interfere with the path of the flake, but it's not. I'm not pushing on it. It's just resting. So that flake travels pretty easily. If I were to bridge it like this and leave a gap, it might travel further, but I might also snap it across. Because I'm hitting it pretty hard. I don't want to snap across the flake. I mean across the workpiece. And why am I doing this right now? Thought I was supposed to be doing the base or stem. Because if I do this now, I can use more force. Instead of having to worry that maybe it's too thin to do this. See, that's what it's supposed to do. But it's being sneaky today. Which means the stone is not consistent, even though it looks like it is. There's hard spots and soft spots. But I can't tell. I can't tell when it's a hard spot or soft spot unless it's a different color. Until I actually flake through it or flake into it, I can't tell. Now, am I able to remember where all the hard spots are and the soft spots are? Sometimes I can. Yes, I can remember. But when you're flaking, some of those hard spots go away. So even though you remembered there might be one there, you may have already removed it. Alright, so I think it's thin enough now that I can start notching and putting in the stem. Yeah. Okay. Alright, so pressure flaking. Pressure flaking now. Yeah, that's another stage, okay? Finish the stage where it's mostly thin, and now we're going to go to pressure flaking. Now this is one of my stages. I don't know if it was one of their stages in the past. Okay, that's just me. Once I get to the point where I don't think indirect percussion is going to do much good, I am going to go to pressure to clean it up, regularize the edge. Cleaning up just means, getting rid of all the chaos and waviness on the edge, and hopefully make everything convex. Everything convex, nice and smooth would be ideal. A lot of points were not made that way. They didn't really care too much about the smoothness of the surface, and I just went for the gusto. Try to blast through the areas, and if there was a step fracture, oh well. But since I'm doing a video and people don't really want to see how to live with step fractures, they want to see how to eliminate step fractures. I've got to try to eliminate them and try to eliminate the errors that I sometimes live with myself. And you don't like them. You don't want to live with them. So I'm going to see what I can do to accommodate that. Okay. Yeah, pressure flake's okay. I like it. Now, I'm going to put in the stem. It's still a little bit thick for my taste, but I think I can power through. I think I can power through that with pressure. All right. Let's dress up this flaker. take up the what little time I have remaining in this segment. Okay, next segment I'm going to be using this little pressure flaker. To put in the stem. Okay.